Hey everybody, it is late June. I'm not sure what day you're getting to this, but we are the Board Game Mechanics. I'm Joel, and with me, as always, is...
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jason.
And you know what, Jason? I'm actually going to take a minute here on the top of the show and just give two real quick shout-outs. First one's going to go to Jared Bloomberg, who reviewed the Board Game Mechanics on Facebook. So thanks for the 5-star review. And he said, we're knowledgeable and funny, good times. Most importantly, they talk about happy pigs. So Jared, I really think you're awesome. So thanks for the 5-star review there. And then also Rhett Hutchinson, you did this a while back. But I want to say thanks to you too. It's this great podcast with some good discussion. Check it out. And that was back in February when we were the February boys who weren't anywhere near as good as we are now. So I don't think.
Right.
So thanks for those kind words, guys. If you left us a review on iTunes, which there's several of them there, like 8 or 9, we're going to get to those too over the next few weeks, just reading a couple of those. But just thanks for your reviews. And if you guys can make it over and give us a 5-star review on either of those, it really does help us grow our audience. So I really appreciate it. And I know Jason does too. I don't have to speak for you. I think you do, Jason, right?
Yeah, I agree. It makes us feel like we're actually doing something that is worthwhile when we can look and see some positive feedback, because the internet's full of not positive feedback, so it's nice to see that every once in a while.
Yep, it is. And you guys, I seriously, I don't say this just because you're our fans. I think The Riveted is one of the best groups of people I've ever encountered on the internet. You guys, I know it's because we're small, but such a good group, you guys.
All right, so I just have a couple pieces of news that I was going to talk about real quickly. The first one is a new Dungeons & Dragons board game that's coming out. It is called Vault of Dragons. It takes place in Waterdeep, I believe. And from what I read, it looks like it's an area control type game, which is, makes sense for the Dungeons & Dragons setting. But I think I also read that WizKids is selling a miniatures pack. So you can kind of jazz up the game a little bit if you're into the miniatures thing, but
Jason, you are so into miniatures.
Yeah, you're right. I'm going to buy like 3 of those packs because I love it so much.
If this is your first episode, you don't need to listen to any of the previous episodes because basically Jason just talks about how much he loves miniatures and all the episodes up to this point.
That's true. So yeah, that's that game. It seems kind of fun. All the other Dungeons & Dragons board games are pretty slick, so this will probably follow in the same vein. So more of the same, but with a little different twist, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm excited about this one just from the standpoint of Lords of Waterdeep was able to bring a lot of fantasy playing, like role-playing game players into board gaming. So I know a lot of my D&D friends were like, hey, a D&D board game, what's this all about? And they knew Waterdeep. They actually I had one friend that was able to tell me about the Harpers and like all the different groups and all the different character cards. He knew all the lore from the books and stuff. And so they stayed true to it. So it kept him engaged, but it also introduced him to worker placement and made him a fan of more board game things. And he actually was like, whoa, there's some cool board game things happening. So if this one does the same thing with area control, I'm pretty excited.
D&D is a pretty familiar theme. So yeah, I think that works well to bring non-board gamers into the hobby for sure.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Jason.
All right, so the next piece of news I have is something I feel like I need to talk about because I have girls. And there was a harassment issue that happened at Origins, and it's kind of going around the internet. I'm not going to rehash the whole thing. You'll find it if you go look on a group. But basically all I wanted to touch on was this is a hobby of inclusivity, however you say that. And for being trying to be some of the most inclusive people, we sure can be non-inclusive at times and not think about what we're doing. So I just wanted to say maybe think a little bit before you say something or do something. Just make everybody feel welcome and have fun gaming. That's what it's all about, having fun. So I'm not going to go into too much more detail, but I just felt like I needed to put that plea out there since I have 2 little girls.
And I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you, Jason. I'm going to say that definitely you've had personal experiences at Origins of misogyny, and I know that I have seen people who are totally misogynistic about stuff that happens at cons or in board game groups. So it certainly does happen. The only thing that I don't like about these kinds of news pieces is there's such a disproportionate amount of coverage of this compared to how much of it is actually happening. So, I mean, the fact of the matter is, this is how all media is. I mean, like, out of 100 gamers, guy gamers, 98 of us are awesome and 2 suck. And the 2 that suck kind of give the other 98 of us a bad name. So I guess I'm totally with you, Jason, that we need to be inclusive and not be stupid. And really, the 98 of you that are awesome are going to hear this and be like, yeah, definitely. And the two that aren't cool, you don't understand that you're not cool. Like, you don't get that you are the two. So maybe look at yourself a little bit and say, am I as welcoming as I can be at the table? Am I saying things that aren't terrible assumptions, putting the worst case scenario forward for this person? Just stuff like that, And I mean, like, I don't know. I think everyone has prejudices. Everyone has biases in their minds. But like, when you take those biases and prejudices in your mind and then you think about them and act on them in a way that excludes people with intention behind it, that's terrible. Like, there's no excuse for that. And the two of you that are doing that, you suck. Like, you really do suck. And like, it really sucks that you're making guys like the entire Riveted and Jason and I seem like we're jerks. And there's already this stereotype that I feel like we kind of have to overcome as gamers. Like, when people who aren't in the gaming world or know how mainstream or big the gaming world's become, when people find out I have a huge board game collection or I play D&D, they immediately assume that I'm like, I eat 6 bags of Cheetos and drink a case of Mountain Dew and like never wash. I mean, like, so like, when these kinds of things happen, it perpetuates a stereotype that just really sucks. And like, I know you work hard and I work hard to not be this person. And I work really hard to try and, be inclusive and not be exclusive at all.
Yeah, and I mean, it also goes behind the male and female thing. It's, you could disagree with people politically or on a whole bunch of other levels. So I think we just need to, when you're playing games, you need to put all that stuff behind you and just play a game and have fun. I mean, treat everybody like you want to be treated, and that's really all I want to say about it, but it just needed to be touched on.
Yep. And like, even if you don't think a person does deserve respect, give them respect. Hey, before we get into games played, Jason, you better lead this in this podcast. Jason's picking up the editing like pretty heavily for the next month or so, just because my schedule doesn't allow it a ton. And he did the last episode too, which I'm sure was an absolute chore to edit. But you did an amazing job. I was really proud of that last podcast. I think it was done really incredibly well. And so excellent job on that editing, Jason. I just wanted to like acknowledge that publicly, that you did an excellent job on the editing. And I'm sure that you'll do a great job on the editing of these next few episodes. And I mean, like, I think I'm not trying to say I have edited all the episodes or anything like that. Like, I hope that didn't come across. Jason's probably done more episodes than I have in total too. So Jason, for a guy who's not really known Audacity at all before January or so, you've become kind of a wizard and you're doing really great with it. So good job, man. Thanks.
It's just my OCD, I think, that kicks in and I have to have it sounding like the way that I'd want to listen to it. So it's fun.
Yeah, no, you do a great job. So, I mean, like, and my only goal in this is I don't want people to be like, oh, that was a Joel episode. Like, so, like, I'm just trying to keep up with you at this point. No, I mean, like, I don't know. I've edited probably in total 50 podcasts at this point, and like episodes of podcasts. And like, I don't know, the novelty is way gone for me. And like, I'm sure it's getting there for you. But there's definitely times where I'm like, all right, I'm sure that this piece of audio for the next 5 minutes is great. I'm going to skip ahead. So, I mean, I don't know. And that's why I get in trouble sometimes. That's where like dangerous. That's where we have to pull our episodes because you have some like really horrible thing you said about Settlers of Catan or something. And I don't want to lose all the listeners. Or maybe that's this episode. I don't know. We'll find out, I guess.
Yeah, we'll find out.
So what did I play this week? Getting back to that. All right, I'm not going to lie. I was going to like lie and act like I've already played these, but I've just read over the rules because I just picked them up. I had a chance to go to Noble Knight Games, which is in Wisconsin. I mean, like, that place is amazing, but it's an online retailer. So like, I know that like Cool Stuff has an awesome retail location and Miniature Market has a pretty good retail location. This one doesn't have an amazing one. It has a good one. But they do have a couple of computers set up so you can just like search their database. And if they have it in their warehouse, they'll go grab it for you. So that's kind of nice. But they only had maybe 100 to 200 games out on the shelves. But out of those 200 games, I saw two things there that I was pretty interested in. And I went ahead and picked them up. The first one was Custom Heroes. So I picked that up. And actually, I kind of played a game by myself of it last night a little bit. Just like, you know, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably hardcore enough that you know what I'm talking about, that like we set up a game for two players and play it ourselves, like as both players. Like I know you do it, Jason, and I definitely do it as well.
Yep.
But I played a game of that by myself last night, and it's actually pretty neat. It takes that card crafting system and it makes it into a trick-taking game, which is actually kind of interesting. And it's a trick-taking game that almost is like, it plays like Teach You or something. So it's like if you have, like 2 5s, then the next person has to have 2 6s and so on and so forth. And basically, if you win the trick, the round of tricks, then you get to draw a certain number of card like upgrades out of this bag, plus get certain currency. But you slide these little card overlays over your characters. And the reason why you want to overpower things or underpower things is because you want to try and get as many of the same numbers you can, because that's really powerful. So like if you can get 6 of a kind or something, man, you're going to be super powerful and hard for people to beat. So, and then if you get a certain number of the currency and you play all the cards in your hand in one round, you win. So it's also, you're trying to get rid of all your cards by like being able to have them work to keep upping the ante kind of thing. So, matching the numbers is really kind of the name of the game. And it's got some really funny things on it. So like some of the things you can slide in make you more powerful. So like there's one that's like a boxing glove that you put in your character and it makes him one more powerful. But then there's things like teddy bears or like sock puppets that you can put on your characters. Like, so you have these like heroes that are posed all the same. And then when you slide the overlay, like their hands get things on them. And one of the things you can get is a sock puppet that you put on your character's hand. And it makes them like 3 weaker, which is kind of funny to me. So, I mean, it's kind of a cool little game, but you're just trying to modify these cards to basically make yourself have the best Teach You hand almost, over the course of like 6 or 7 rounds. Pretty neat little game. And it's pretty cheap too. I think it's in the 20s of dollars. Like when this game first got announced, I don't remember when it came out. I'm thinking it might have been Gen Con last year, or I kind of almost remember us talking about it when it came out. I don't know. Anyway, when it came out, which it's fairly recent, I remember thinking, oh man, another big box card crafting game, just what I need, right as I just picked up Mystic Veil. So it was one of those things of like feeling upset that I'm gonna like have the obsolete one that no one wants anymore. Well, I think these games are totally not even the same thing at all. They're very different games. This is kind of a small box too. There's only like maybe 80 cards in the whole game. So, but pretty neat little game. Custom heroes.
That's cool. Yeah, I want to check that one out. It seems a little more interesting theme-wise than Mystic Veil to me.
Yeah, definitely. And like your wife would be into it too. I'm not saying this because she's a woman or anything like that. Like I know that's enough heated stuff going on with that this week. Your wife would like it because it's got that Japanese theme that she loves so much. So the instructions are actually primarily written in Japanese, and then you have to like flip the book around and like read the English translation of the things. So it's really cool. Like it's not even, it's kind of anime, but it's a neat art direction they went with it too.
Yeah, that is cool. That's the one that has like the Japanese title on it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And like big orange letters or whatever characters, exactly. I guess.
Yep.
I didn't play a game like that, but I did play a kind of an old game, I guess, and it's called For Sale.
Oh, I love that game.
Yeah, I'd never played it before.
Seriously?
And yeah, I'd never played it because I didn't know anybody that had it, but Jim and Kim had the little tiny one. That's
what
like,
I have too. That's the best one.
Yeah, and it had the coins are like punched out of a card or something. Yeah, so basically what you're doing is you're bidding with like these coins that you have to get these properties from like a cardboard box to like a mansion. They range from I think 0 to 30. You're going to do that over 6 rounds, and then you're going to sell those buildings to get in the second phase of the game. You're going to sell those buildings to get money cards, and you're trying to get the best money cards you can with the buildings. So, but you can pass on bidding, and you can just take the lowest card.
Yeah.
It's your choice. So maybe you just like, well, I'm going to keep all my money for points at the end of the game. So you can start the in-game scoring with $14,000. But you're going to have all the crappy buildings like the outhouse and the cardboard box.
Yeah.
So you're trying to decide, well, if there's all high money in the second round and you're playing the low card, you're still going to get a decent amount of money. So it's kind of like a give and take, kind of knowing when to play cards. Yeah, it was super fun. I liked it way more than I feel like I should have, for sure.
Yeah, I've played this game probably 50 times, and it's my like go-to filler. I love it so much. But it's basically like you're doing an auction to get cards for a trick-taking phase is really the mechanics of it. But then the thing that you mentioned, okay, so like the houses are ranked, like there's like this space station that's like a 30, and then the outhouse is like a 0, right? Or a 1. But like if you pass, you can take the crappiest one, like you said. So here's the thing. Sometimes the cards just randomly flop out that you're selling your house to. So it's like there's like 3 random buyers, or however many players there are random buyers. And those random buyers like are willing to pay these fixed amounts for your houses. So sometimes like the highest amount is 15,000. So sometimes you can have like a 15,000 flop out with a 13,000 and like a 12,000. And like, so the worst case scenario, you're going to get like a 13,000. So like you play that zero card and you get 13,000, which is like pretty
Right,
awesome.
yeah.
So,
Yep.
so it's really about like the other thing too, like strategy wise, man, we got to talk about this one for the Hall of Fame at some point. Like strategy wise, it's really, you're kind of looking at how much spread is on the numbers. So like you play your best cards when like there's a 15,000 and a 0 out at the same time, because you don't want someone to get, 15,000 more points than you because you missed it by a couple points. The other thing that's really fun to do in that game is like I always do this too. So I'm giving away all my pro strats if I ever play with you guys. Like the first round, I'll bid like insane, like an insane amount, like 4. And then like sometimes I get outbid and outbidded. That's a new one for us all. Outbidded.
Outbidded.
But I'll get outbid and I'll be totally content and happy with that because the rest of the game, I'm barely going to bid anything until everyone else like uses up all their money. So that's what happens then is like people blow their money in the first 3 or 4 auctions. And then you basically can come in and like buy things for like 3 coins that was going for like 6 or 7 earlier in the game. Now, the other kind of cool thing too with this is if you don't win the auction, if you bow out, you have to pay your lowest bid divided by 2, rounded up, I think. So, I mean, like if you bid 7, you'd have to pay 4 basically. So, yeah, great game, Jason. I love this game. I'm so happy you played it.
Yeah, I was trying to decide if I liked it better than Biblios or not, but I don't know. I need to play it again to make that determination.
It's way lighter than Biblios, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
And like actually I don't think it compared a lot, but the 2 phases of the game are a little different too. Like you actually get an auction to kind of do the first one, as opposed to in Biblios where you're basically just like you're allocating cards to different places. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know. I think for sale is way more accessible. Like this is something that I played with when he was still alive, my 90-year-old grandpa played this game with us. So I mean, like, of course he was a mean rook player too, so he might have been able to pick this up pretty quick. But yeah, Jason, my second game is Watson and Holmes. And this is basically the Baker Street Consulting Detectives game, but they've made it competitive instead of cooperative. So there's different locations you're going to like try and kind of gather information. And then you actually place bids to go to different spots too. So if you really think that a place is really important to go, you can kick somebody out by paying a little bit of money. And there can be like some kind of like control things with auctions there. But it's kind of neat. It's the same basic idea as the Baker Street, like read these articles and try and, solve the riddle and then deduce like who did it and whatever happened there. But instead of trying to, like on the consulting detective, you basically are going against like an AI as a team. You're going against like Sherlock Holmes, who's like, at the end of it, he's going to be like, you guys are idiots because this, and this I all knew and you guys didn't know it. And that's why I would have solved this eight rounds earlier than you guys, whatever. Well, this one, you're not playing against him. You're playing against each other. So like you can just feel like an idiot from your friends instead of from an AI. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. That game seems kind of interesting because it's actually a game.
Yeah.
Because you're like putting workers on spaces and taking actions and stuff. But yeah, consulting detective is just basically you're reading. It's like a choose your own adventure type thing. Yeah.
It's an activity. And like when I first got that game, Consulting Detective, like that's one of those ones too that I like totally utilized buying the Yasari or whatever copy of it, the reprint when it was really cheap and knowing that I thought it was a cool game. Like I saw the Shut Up and Sit Down guys, review it and I thought, oh, this looks like fun. Like my wife might be into it. Well, I tried it one time and then like I knew that Yasari or Yasardi or whatever the name of the company is notorious for shorting print runs. So I was like, I'm going to wait for this thing to be like pretty sought after and put it up for trade. And I got a really good trade out of it, but I think you're exactly right. Like that one doesn't feel like a game as much as this one does. And like, I don't know, it adds more tension with the idea that you might lose to someone else instead of we may not solve this thing as quick as we might have otherwise, So
yeah. I agree. That's a good pick. I would try that one for sure.
Would
you? You have it? Is that what you said?
I do have it. I picked it up at Noble Night.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd like to try that one. I think Katie kind of wants to play that one too.
Yeah, Katie is going to destroy us at it, though. I mean, honestly, like...
yeah, probably.
Katie gets talked about a lot on this podcast, and like I think it's almost always positive, but she's really smart. Like, she's really smart at deduction and like logic kind of things, and multitasking, which I think this game would really like utilize all those kinds of intelligence, honestly. So I'd play with her.
Right, yeah.
I know we're going to get destroyed.
Yeah, I did beat her at a game today, so that was fulfilling for sure.
What'd you guys play?
Zombie dice.
Oh, So the game that has everything to do with like pushing your luck and random luck, you beat your wife at. Okay. Good job, Jason. I'll come get your participation trophy.
Yeah. Hey, I got to take some joy out of some kind of win. It doesn't happen too often.
Well, that's cool, man. I'm glad you won.
Yeah, but that's not the second game I want to talk about. The second game I want to talk about, I was going to talk about a different one, but we just played this one too, so I'll talk about this. And the game is called The Cherry Tree That Blossoms Once Every 10 Years. I don't know if you check this out at Origins, but essentially what it is, it's a push your luck game where you're drawing these little flower petals out of this bag.
Is that the name of the game, or is it...
That's legitimately the name of the game. It's really long like that.
Because you talked to me about it at Origins, and I thought it was like you were describing the game. Not like
No.
Like I thought, Lotus or something. I don't know, whatever the name of the game was.
That's really the name of the game. Yeah, it's obscenely long. But
it's descriptive.
Yeah, true. You're drawing out of this bag. You can draw 3 times, and you can draw a maximum of 8 flower petals. So what happens is you're going to say how many you draw. So say I say 3, I'll take 3 out. If at any time I get 3 of the same color petals, I bust. And it's a set collection game where you're trying to collect sets in front and behind your little player screen. So the way you score in each area scores differently. So if you bust, you can only put things out in the front. So in order to not bust, you can never get 3 of the same color. So you eventually have to stop so you can get some stuff behind your screen to even be in the running to get behind your screen points. And there's like 3 little cards out in the middle that if you draw certain types of stuff out of the bag, you get special actions you can take. It's a really fun little game, like 20 minutes. Man, it is tense and like so frustrating. It's such a good little game.
It sounds pretty cool, man. That like push your luck, but then don't push it too far, or else you have to have this huge handicap kind of thing almost. So that's pretty cool.
Literally, the box is 4 player screens, a bag, and like 50 little flower petals. That's it. That's all that's in that game.
And it's in a Gloomhaven-sized box, is what you said?
No, it's in like a little tiny box. It's a yellow game too, which is kind of weird because it's not like what they usually do, which is interesting.
Yellow is really clever at marketing their games and has really great art and production values. So for them to call a game The Tree That Blooms Once Every 10 Years and you need to put the petals on it, because that's the name of the game, is the game name. It's like a weird thing for them to name a game.
Yeah, it's really weird. The artwork is beautiful, though. It's a beautiful looking game. Outside of the long title, it's definitely a really sweet little game, though.
Could be because we're running out of trademarks because we're in such a board game boom right now that like all the cool names are gone now. Like we've reached the end of good names. So,
now we have to start making sentences as game titles.
So I feel like I would do our listeners a disservice if I didn't go back to this. So the version of For Sale you played, Jason, is the best version because those linen cards in there are awesome. Like the card quality on the Tiny Travel Edition is amazing. And then those so here's another thing. Your money is hidden knowledge. So having those little tiny paper monies that are super thin, actually I think is better because you can hold them in the palm of your hand and not have to worry about like having thick cardboard money. So anyway, that was my ADD kicking in there, but just talking about how passionately I love the game For Sale. It's seriously one that if you haven't played it, I bought the Travel Edition. I mean, like so I played the game For Sale, thought it was good, didn't see all the depth into it, but then I saw it for like $7 or something for that little Travel Edition at Miniature Market one time. And it's like, I need the extra $7 to fulfill this order. So I put it in there. And I think that little Travel Edition is dollar for dollar one of the best games you can get, honestly. So anyway.
Have you played the non-Travel Edition?
Yeah.
Is it a lot different?
No, the cards are just a thicker card, but they aren't. Like I think it's called linen finish with those like little ribs in it. Like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I like the linen finish better, personally. They feel better in my hands. And then the cardboard money is just standard like cardboard money, like coins.
Oh, I got it.
So, I mean, like, yeah. And that whole series of games from Eagle Griffin, those bookshelf games, are all really good. I mean, money is really excellent. And some of those games are so good and were so overlooked because Eagle Griffin mismanaged them so badly. They're getting reprints now by like CMON in different places. Like Modern Art was in there. And like it was all the rage when CMON came out with their edition that was no different at all. So, I mean, like, I don't know. Just a really cool game, Jason. Good pick. I like such a good pick. I had to go back and talk about it a second time.
Yeah, I didn't want to play it either, but I'm glad I did for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a rock solid game, and just the art's really cute too. So if you want to move that back to when we were talking about for sale, you can do that if you want to. But I mean, it's kind of, I don't know, it's naturally who I am, I guess. So
yeah, it makes sense with the rest of our podcast, so it's fine.
Yeah. It's the ADHD boy and the OCD boy.
Yep. All right, so we haven't put a game, well, we haven't given a wrench rating to a game in a while, so we figured it was time. So today we're going to talk about the game Catan, or as it used to be called, Settlers of Catan, or Catan, however you want to say it. I don't really know or care. But we're going to talk about that game, give our rating, and see if it makes it into the Hall of Fame.
I think if you're from the Midwest in a state north of, let's go with Indianapolis. If Indianapolis isn't a state, but if you live north of Indianapolis and you're in the Midwest, you do the nasally like Chicago Catan. And like if you're from like anywhere else in the world, you call it Catan. So anyway.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
So let's get started. Let's talk about, well, I'll give a quick overview of what the game is first, I guess. So Catan is essentially a resource management game where you're collecting resources by rolling dice, and then you're using those resources to build buildings, build settlements, and trade with other players so you can have the cards you need to do what you need to do. And you're trying to be the first person to get 10 points, I believe, is the number. Maybe. Somewhere around there. I think it's 10. And if you roll sevens, you can get like this robber to steal goods from other people. And it's a good game. It kind of outstays its welcome, but it started a whole revolution of the Euro game in America. So
yep,
that's Catan.
And I think everybody you talk to is going to have played this game, or most everyone you've will talk to has played this game. And there's definitely a wave of, if you look at like Gen Con or like Origins, like existence or participation by people, there's definitely like your Catan numbers and your post Catan numbers. Cause this game definitely was one that it jacked up the numbers big time on the number of people who are playing board games out there for sure. And I mean, honestly, it may not be so much now cause there's been 3 or 4 like waves of just board gaming getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But it used to be 5 years ago, if you talked to someone and said, what game got you into the hobby? Like 9 out of 10 people would say Catan or Catan. So, I mean, definitely. And it was called Settlers of Catan. So at any rate, yeah. And I mean, like, honestly, the hex tiles in this game, like, I don't know how many times I've played a game with people. Okay. So here's the thing about Catan. I switch and forth between the two names by the two pronunciations too. It's a huge pet peeve of mine. Like when somebody who thinks they know what they're talking about with board games, like I'm kind to them still because I want to be the best diplomat for board gaming I can be. But
right.
when I explain a game, okay, so I'm explaining, let's say one of the games I'm talking about today, I'm like talking about custom heroes, you know, I'm talking about how you're crafting cards and building cards. They go, oh, so it's like Catan. What?
No, it's not like Catan at all.
So that's, I mean, like you get that a lot more when you play a game that has hexes on it. So if there's ever hexes in a game, you can almost assuredly account on the fact that someone's going to go, oh, this is like Catan. No, this is Memoir 44. What does this have to do with Catan? You know? So, I mean, that's one thing you definitely see, but I mean, like, I don't know. It's definitely something that got people into the hobby for sure, 100%. And at its heart is it's a trading game. So like the trading game, you have to kind of understand what resources are worth based on what it costs to build things. And you have to be able to like kind of claim spots based on what you think's going to be rolled a lot. So you have to know probabilities. There's a lot of clever design in this game. And I think this game, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, Jason. This is going to surprise you, I think. Oh, man, I got to do it. This isn't going to be popular, Jason, but I got to give this a 5 wrench rating. And here's why. I played this game 100 times, okay? I probably played it on tabletop 40 times, and I've played the iOS app probably 60 times. And it's an amazing game. I don't want to play it anymore. I don't own it anymore. I am always looking at Goodwill stores, or I'm always looking at like Target and Walmart who carry this game to see if they have it 75% off. Because if I could find a copy for $13, I'd definitely buy it again. It's definitely worth having it for that. But I got rid of my copy a long time ago for I don't remember what, but it was back in my big trading phase. I don't own it anymore, but I think this game is really good. I really do think it's an excellent game. And I think if you talk to people who think it's not a good game or don't like it, it's because it's kind of cool to say Catan's not cool or not good. I mean, it makes you so edgy, that kind of thing. But the other thing, too, is I think they're going to say, I don't like it because I've played it 100 times, like me, So any game you're going to play 100 times, you have to have thought was a good game. You know what I mean? At some point.
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm going to leave it at, Jason. I don't know. What's your thoughts on overall, I guess, the game?
Yeah, I would agree. I probably wouldn't give it a 5 right now, but I used to play this game with Katie and her dad all the time. Like, we played base game. We played with Cities and Knights a lot. I played it with my other buddy. We played like Traders and Barbarians, and I'd probably up there with you hitting 100 times for sure. I played it so many times. So I'd probably give this game a 4. I don't want to play it now, but I respect it, and it deserves a place in people's collections. And I don't have it anymore, but I do have the Star Trek version because I like that theme a little better.
Well, it's more fun too. I'm getting oxygen and titanium or whatever the resources are in that.
Right, so if I want to play the game, I'll just bust that one out and play with that. It's the same thing. It scratches the same itch. It's just cooler stuff to look at because you can see like Captain Kirk and Uhura and stuff and all that. So, but yeah, I would give it a 4. It's definitely a good game, and I think that makes it Hall of Fame worthy as well.
I think it does. It's a little surprising, I'm sure, to you, Jason. I'm sure you didn't think I was going to give it a 5.
No, I was thinking 4 all the way for sure.
Yeah, I'm giving it the 5 just because it's such a legendary game in its past. And I would say in a vacuum, if that game came out today, it would be a 3.5 or 3 even. But given that it's what created so much behind it and after it, it's something that you just have to acknowledge is really great. And then the other thing too, I am going to give it a 5, but here's the caveat. Because this game at its heart is a trading game, and you have to have really good knowledge of like what things are worth and how things get built and what numbers get rolled. Because of that, people who have played this game 100 times are going to have such a huge advantage on you if you're brand new to this game that it won't even be fun for you. So I remember the first time I played this game, oh man, back in like probably 2000 something, 2006 maybe, I don't know. Probably even before that. I don't even know what year this game came out, but it was a long time ago that I played this game. And the first time I played it, the guy built a road all the way across the center of the map so no one else could build roads. And it was because he knew exactly what he was doing. And he did it incredibly fast, knew how to move the bandit or thief or whatever you call him really effectively, knew exactly which spots were like the min-maxed. Oh, wool on a 7? Duh, that's a no-brainer. I mean, like that kind of thing. And he destroyed us. And there are definitely players out there who can do that. And I, to a degree, can do that now. Not like he could at that point. But I know what's good and what's not good. And if you're playing for the first time, you're not going to know nearly as well as an experienced player. So my suggestion is don't go out and buy the $45 box of this. And I think it's actually like $59 MSRP probably. Don't go out and buy it. Buy the $4 app instead on iOS and play against the easy AI for a while. And if you really enjoy it and you think it's great, I think then you go buy the game. Or you buy the $4 app, you play it a few times and go, I respect this game. I respect what it did for the hobby. And I'm happy with the $4 app. I think that's the 2 ways you can go with it.
Right. Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. I think this is actually one of the games that turned me off against like interaction games, because so many times I'd play this game and people just wouldn't trade.
Yeah.
Or they would just be like jerks for the sake of being jerks, where they clearly had nothing that they needed, and you were going to give them 3 of what they needed.
Yep.
But because you had 8 points, they're not going to trade you that sheep for that wood because you're going to win. And I don't know, just stuff like that. Like when my winning is dependent on that as much as it is dice rolling, that kind of turned me off against some of those types of games for sure.
Yeah, and then the dice rolling, it does make it kind of a luck fest. So, okay, let's talk real quick here, Jason. I know this is totally off script here, and I'm like throwing you for a loop, but let's think about some of the games that have come out of Catan. Like, so I'm immediately off the top of my head thinking of Machikoro. Like, that feels a lot like Catan in that you roll the die and then whatever you have pays out. That's definitely something they took from Catan. There was another game that I was just thinking of that was like, oh, man, that really takes from Catan too as well. The trading and all that stuff. And I don't remember what it is off the top of my head.
I don't know of a game that's like it, but Takanoko's similar in some ways.
With
like it has the hex grids, and it's got the little panda that moves around kind of like the robber. And then it's got the the die that you roll to affect the weather. So, I mean, it kind of does some of the similar things.
And then you also are building canals, too, to, like, irrigate different places and stuff. So, I mean, definitely, there's some influence there as well, I would say. Yeah, I've wondered how many games with hexes in them that someone, like, was like, my prototype of this, I'm going to take a Catan game and, like, modify it to make my prototype, you know?
Right, so, yeah, I can see that.
Well, this is a good pick, Jason, to talk about, and I think it's probably long overdue for us to mention it. Oh man, our Hall of Fame, like, it has as much credibility as the Hall of Fame for baseball that doesn't include Pete Rose. So yeah, and that's a good one for you because you're an Ohio guy. You know, you got to put Pete in the Hall of Fame, right?
I love Pete. Yep.
So the thing about this is we're saying this game's Hall of Fame based on its squeaks in, based on my 5 rating and your 4 rating, but neither of us own the game. So on that note, well, bring us home, Jason.
I own a version of it.
And I do too. I have Starfarers of Catan. So this is going to make somebody punch their speaker right now or like want to like swallow their earbuds. A friend of mine knew I was into board gaming, and he's like, hey, I've got this game that's never even been punched. He tagged me in this post. He said, I've got this game. It's never been punched. I bought it at a garage sale. I think I paid $15 for it. I just wanted my money back out of it. And it was Starfarers of Catan. I was like, nice. Yes, please. I will take that for $15.
I was like, I'll give you $20 for it.
Yeah. So I own a pretty cool like pseudo Grail game that I just lucked into, but I haven't played it yet, honestly, because it's as much like I have like a little part of my shelf that's like vintage games, like old games that are kind of a museum piece kind of thing. And it's in my museum pieces, but I do want to play it because it's just got such neat components in it. It's got like these spaceships with little like randomizing the balls come out in like random order. And it just kind of how it randomizes things, I think is a little different. And it's just got amazing components on it though. So, pretty cool. And I've heard actually a lot of people have, I don't even have it for trade. I just have it in my collection on Board Game Geek. And I'll get once a month someone email me and say, hey, are you interested in trading or selling this game? And then like they usually tell me like some like heart-rending like narrative about my mom who isn't with me anymore loved this game so much. And so I was hoping to honor her by owning a copy. Yeah, right. Sure.
Right. Yeah.
But honestly, usually people are like, oh, I didn't know this game was so cool. And I played it at my friend's house. And so I have heard people say it's really neat. It's like a lot different than Catan, but I don't know. So I do own a copy, kinda.
Yeah. I mean, I have owned a copy and 3 expansions. So, I mean, I've done, you know, it's not like I've never had the game and then gave it a 4 rating anyway.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I have owned it too. And like I said, if I could find a good deal on it, like, I would definitely buy it. But if I had $50 to spend on a game this moment, right now, I'm not going to buy that game for $50. I'm not sure what I would buy for $50 right now, but I'm not buying that one. I know what I'd buy. I'd buy Coimbra. But anyway.
Oh, yeah. For sure. I'm going to play that on Wednesday, I think.
Are you?
Yep. My buddy Chris is going to bring it over.
You lucky dog.
Yep.
The dice of the Mayan calendar. That's the game, right?
Coimbra is something different. Teotihuacan is the dice of the Mayan calendar.
So that's the Mayan calendar game. The Coimbra though has like definitely like I just saw people playing it. I couldn't get in the demo line at Origins. One of the cooler things I thought about it was it has like a dice holder. Like so you roll these dice and then you put them in a little base to like move them around the board and stuff. So I thought that was kind of neat.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty neat.
Well, hey, I guess I know and everyone else who made it to whatever we're at minute 45 of this podcast know what you're going to talk about that you played next week. So.
Yep, that's true.
Because you got to play it on Wednesday, which is 2 days before this is released. But that's just how we do it.
Yeah. A little inside baseball.
All right. Well, hey, Jason, thanks for all your hard work on this one and getting it put together. I am trying my best. Life is really busy for me for the next 3 weeks, and this podcast isn't as big a priority as I wish it was right now. But Jason's kind of doing the heavy lifting and carrying the load. And I'm just hoping that my mobile podcasting unit is working as it should. And I think it is. So, at any rate, when I'm just having a hard time finding time and space and whatever to record, this is a good chance for me to break out the mobile unit. So I hope I sound okay.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll make it sound good.
You better. OCD.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see if I find time to play some games this week.
Yeah, I'm sure you will.
I hope so.
I'm sure you will.
I hope so. All right. Thanks, Jason. I've been Joel.
Yeah, I'm Jason. See you guys later.
And like, so if you go to boardgameprices.com, who's our newest sponsor, just as of now, because I mentioned your name. So in perpetuity,
awesome.
you are now our sponsor. So find good ad revenue for us, Board Game Prices. No, actually what they should do in response for me mentioning them is like, it should list all the prices, and then it should have like board game mechanics. Talk about this one. It's free to listen. So it like says like the price is free. So I mean like, to come listen to our podcast. All right. So speaking of awesome editing, Jason probably got that out of there.